Yo, Joe! This was my first. I don't know how many G.I. Joe games are out there, but this is my first one. And it was an interesting experience. I love G.I. Joe. I always have since I was a kid. I had the toys, the big old ones, the small ones, the vehicles. I can't imagine how much money my parents spent on G.I. Joes. Good place to get them too is Toys R Us, long time ago. Dude, I had Destro, I had Snake Eyes, obviously, Storm Shadow. Pretty much everyone. Obviously, I don't like all the Joes and all the Cobras. But I had the ones I wanted. I had a lot of the Bats. There was like this cool tank thing that is like a troop carrier thing. And I also had a lot of off-brand military toys as well, like obviously stuff not nearly as quality and as expensive as G.I. Joe's, like all the cheaper generic. So it's kind of cool like combining them and like maybe versing each other or like kind of a little mix of the teams and stuff, because G.I. Joes are such high tier ranking badass characters, and it's just funny when they go up against like tiny, lesser known regular Joes. And yeah, it was fun. Like play with them in my room. I lived in the forest, so I'd go outside. There's like a little stream in the ditch. I had all the boats too. Oh, the boats were sweet. There's even some that were like battery powered and like the engine would kind of go by itself. It was nuts. The quality of the toys. This is a game about the toys. Yeah, it was, God, it was so fun. Obviously, they're all gone. I don't know what the heck happened to them, but I had a whole tub of them. I remember that much. Play with them in the hot tub. I mean, those are definitely my favorite toys. Like, we all had a bunch of toys in general of all kinds of stuff, but that was definitely my thing. And that's probably one of the earliest ways you can get exposed to, like, just kind of involving yourself in some sort of military thing. I don't know. You know, when you're a kid, you don't really think about the military as a whole, but yeah, toys, especially Joe's, are definitely a good way to make you realize like how you might have even gotten inspired to mess around with military stuff at all. Yeah, aside from the small ones, the more modern ones, I don't know what G.I. Joes are like today. I have no idea. I also had like a tall Snake Eyes too that I randomly found at like Walmart or I don't know. And obviously they really came back out once the movies hit. The live action movies. And there was a Snake Eyes movie a while ago. Like they've been doing pretty well. They had this game. It's really cool to see this franchise still kind of kicking it and doing what they're doing. I might have watched the animated movie. I don't remember actually. I think I was gonna get it, but it was too expensive at the time or something. Yeah, just G.I. Joe in general is great, and this game was kind of an interesting take on something I'm so familiar with, but in such a different way. I'm gonna say right off the bat that this game was not... It's G.I. Joe, but you're getting nostalgia out of it. You're getting a brand, a franchise. The game itself wasn't that wasn't that great. I think it was Game Mill Studios, and they make a few games that I actually have. And there's a really odd, strange, like good but kind of like mediocre, bad-ish quality standard that they have. Like the gameplay, I can get past a lot of the stuff the game had to offer, but I think the gameplay was just rough. Especially because I played a little bit not long ago as well. Just to kind of get a little bit of a refresher, and holy cow. Even on the next-gen console, it's next-gen remote controller. I don't know, I was like, I thought to myself, like, how did I get through this in the first place? How did I beat the game? That's crazy, because, like, it is one of those games that will probably make you give up in, like, the first hour. But if you like it enough and you got it at all, and you're probably gonna keep playing it and just finish it, right? Me as well. I believe I got it. I might have got it on sale. I don't think it was a full price game originally on launch, which would have been nuts. I don't think they could have got away with that. It's all cel shaded. The cutscenes.
Status report, dial tone.
All teams have reached their rallying points across the globe and are prepared to engage Cobra forces.
Tell them to keep holding, but to take any action necessary to defend themselves.
The cutscenes. I never really liked that style. I know that Joe has been interpreted in so many different ways. The animation. Don't they have like comics or something? There's just been so much of it throughout the years. TV shows, I imagine, like, I didn't go too deep into, like, knowing what all they have and don't have, but... And then obviously a lot of love went into the movies. Those movies are really good. I mean, you got The Rock, you got Channing Tatum, like, dude. It's good. It's good stuff. Bruce Willis, like, come on. It was really cool. Because the thing is, they're toys, so, like, with the animation... I don't know if you could really call it, like, that things like that may or may not be a good way to appreciate the brand depending on who you are. That's why live action is also made, is because you can have a little bit more to work with and options, choices. But yeah, it was really cool seeing all these little toys that I used to play with, like, come to life. And around the time the movies did come out, it was just kind of a perfect time. I was just getting grown up enough to where, like, you know, I may or may not even had my toys at that time, but I was obviously getting older, growing out of it. But, yeah. This game really hit my nostalgia side of things. And unfortunately, that's all it hit. A lot of the games I play, I really do like, or I'm biased towards, or something. Like, I'm not really at a point where I'll just play whatever, whenever. At least not yet. Because I've just been trying to catch up so much. These games keep releasing, and... But this game, I don't know, it was weird. It was really special to me. Like, I had to kind of get into it and force myself to, like it, and... But that's the thing, if you don't fuck with G.I. Joes at all, I can't see why you would play this. It is a game available for the open market for anyone and everyone, whatever, but... Yeah, generally, if you don't like G.I. Joes, even if you know about them, that still may or may not incentivize you to get the game. So yeah, it had a very select audience from the beginning. Like, the fact that a game got made is great, but obviously it's unfortunate with things like this because not everyone likes G.I. Joes. So the game wasn't really able to be made as good as it could have. And sure, if you're a fan enough, because I'm sure there's way more bigger fans than me out there, for sure. You know, there's probably other outlets you can take to get that kind of fix that you might have if you want to play an interactive G.I. Joe video game. But this, I don't know if this was a good one. It's the latest one, and it's there, it exists, but wow. The gunplay, the melee, I don't know. Obviously, the coolest part about it all is you got to be your favorite characters. With each mission, you don't have all the options in the world, but you do get to pick between at least 2 people at the time. It alternates a lot between the Joes and the Cobra. What do you even call them? The Cobras? Just the Cobras? I don't... The Cobra Elite? Instead of Commando Elite, like small soldiers or something. But yeah, I definitely like the bad guys more. I've always been more into Cobra for sure. The bad guys are so cool. Because I don't have a reason to really be into the Joes themselves. Like, we all like the bad guys a little bit more, most of us, I'd imagine. So that's definitely understandable. They're not all cool, too. Like, I definitely don't like Destro that much. I know he's a big character, but he's just kind of like, yeah, he's got a metal head, and... Yeah, the Joes are cool. Like, I like... the whole fact that a squadron of soldiers can be so secretive and futuristic and technology and advanced and very powerful and strong, and that alone is great. That's all that they need. But yeah, they definitely don't stick out to me like how they should, other than Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes is my favorite. He always will be. He's so cool. Black, ninja, mask, swords, Japan, and that was another reason why I love G.I. Joe so much, is that half of it, if you think about it, is really based around some sort of Japanese thing. And I realize why, because of the old wars and stuff. Like, you know, I get that, but it's just really cool. It's like a really good mix of like American, Japanese kind of cultures, Western, Asian mix of all these diverse characters, and you know, they travel all over the world. It's always a high stakes, I'm gonna take over the world, and the Joes. I just love it. It's a really nice interpretation of a Batman Joker kind of relationship. Like, we wouldn't exist if it wasn't for you guys, and because of you guys, we do exist. And there's kind of like a mutual weird understanding there. So, I don't know. You know, it's like they're worst enemies, but... yeah, I don't know. Like, because there can always be a bigger threat. These are small, universal pockets of characters in a world that was written by someone and became a thing. But really, if you wanted to get deep into it, you could be like, okay, what if some crazy alien race came and... I don't know. If these are the only 2 alliances in the entire world, they gotta come together, right? And sure, there's probably more going on than just Joes and Cobras, but really, it's such a big, wide range of operations and things that they're doing where... I don't know. Is there even like a really normal military and stuff aside from G.I. Joe stuff? I guess? I don't know. But yeah, so I like the Japanese part of it all. I respect the Joes. Yo, Joe! It's super catchy. I love the toys. Never got into the shows or the movies other than the live action. I really miss the old school OG G.I. Joes. I used to be able to find them at like this barn place or like a country store. They had G.I. Joes there. They had, you know, horse toys and all kinds of like good stuff. Big old guns. Those things are expensive too. I can't imagine what they're like now, but yeah, the amount of detail, the clothes that they had, those things are so cool. Really good quality toys back then. But obviously they're expensive, right? So, you know, eventually those kind of basically disappeared and then they just straight up went to the, what are they, 6-inch figures? Which were a lot more cheaper, I imagine, and, you know. That's just kind of where the whole toy market went in general. A little smaller, just as much detail, just as cool, just as, you know, a little bit more convenient. You don't have these giant freaking toys everywhere. But what's cool is that they still sold those giant toys, just not nearly that kind of quality. But they'd be like all plastic or something, you know, fine. Kind of like in commemoration of those big toys, I imagine. So that's all toys were back then. They were just huge and just really not cheap to make at all, and just bulky, and like no one wants to like carry some 12-inch freaking G.I. Joe around with them everywhere, right? You do those the modern G.I. Joes, you could stick those in your pocket, take them with you. I don't know if I ever really did that. I liked them, but probably not that much, but you can do it if you want, right? But, I mean, really, I do remember transporting them between, like, my parents' houses and stuff, and it's cool, because I'd always be in, like, a different environment, and I could take them outside, or just do the whole classic in-room thing, mess around with verticality, set up some DVDs. I'm going back to the toys. You know, you got guys perched up somewhere, and the ground troops, and just... I don't know. But the game, definitely didn't bring me as much joy as the toys. Normally I have really good things, if not, you know, okay things to say about most games that I have, but here, I'm not gonna, like, lie and be like, this is the greatest game ever, because I'm wearing these rose-colored glasses because of the whole G.I. Joe brand. Like, it's not like that at all. But it's just fun playing games like this too, because not every game you play is going to be something tied to something so much bigger than just the game itself. A lot of games are really original and just kind of random, out of nowhere, IPs, titles. So anything branded, G.I. Joe, whatever it may be, it's just kind of a nice little way to mix it up and do something a little different, which never hurts. It's worth the money. It's weird. I can't really sit here and be like, don't get the game. But I can't sit here and be like, get it either. It's kind of really all gonna depend on you and who you are and how far you're willing to go. Because you gotta purchase a game. You gotta store it. It's not that much storage space. It's not that expensive. I think the hardest part for me, other than that, was just playing the whole thing. Like, it wasn't easy. You really have to kind of get through the hardships. And it's not so much the game is hard, there's difficulty settings, but... Dude, I don't know, like... In games like this, of this caliber, there's never going to be a whole lot of options. I'm pretty sure there was a sensitivity option, but... which I assumed I messed around with originally, but, even that kind of goes so far. Like, the controls aren't too bad. There's you know, a dash, a melee, you got a super special power. It, they're all different, they're all unique, and everyone has their own thing, and it's really cool. Especially the more you know about G.I. Joe, the more you're really gonna notice all the details and the things they put into the game. It was made with love, but this definitely ain't no Call of Duty kind of quality by any means. Which not every game has to be some big AAA title, but it's yeah, the only thing that made it all worth it obviously was the characters and, you know, the settings. There's a good story to it, pretty typical average thing you'd expect. You know, these Joes and Cobras have been going at it for so many years. No one's gonna win. It's a stalemate every time. Like, sure, the Joes always win, technically, because they're the good guys, but really, I mean... And Cobra's just so cool, like... It's all about that brand recognition. You know, they're always saying Cobra, they're always, they got their logo slapped everywhere, which I don't blame them. Dude, it's a lot cooler than a star. Like, oh, G.I. Joe, a star, cool. American flag, just basic stuff. I think they have another logo with like a eagle or a hawk or some, a bird with a star on it. But yeah, dude. Like, the Cobra logo is something I'd slap on like the back of my brand new Nissan 93 GTR if I ever had one. Just the thing is, the logo is so cool. And it's tied to so many cool characters with really cool, interesting backstories. Like, what's interesting about playing these games, having the toys, watching the movies, it all does give you some perspective on who these characters are, where they came from, what they're doing, where they're from. It's pretty nice. Definitely written very well. It's the only thing like it that exists. I mean, if you were trying to get into the whole, like, what would you even call this genre of whatever it is? Like some kind of Spec Ops, toy, animated, military, good guys, bad guys franchise. I mean, these guys are the only ones that did it right, and they're the only ones that I can think of that exist. Like, I don't see, it's on such a tier of its own that I don't see why anyone would even try to copy it, because you just, it's really hard to do. There's a lot of different ways you can do something similar because it's such a standard kind of deal, but I mean, how else would you take something like this and completely change it around 360? Like, I don't think it can be done. Which is really cool because it's something so original that, you know, you can't really compete with it. And the longer that these franchises exist, the ones that got through back in the day, there's a lot of money put into it, a lot of time, a lot of effort. I've seen like behind the scenes of how these things go with toy lines, and it's not very easy to bring these characters to life, because really it all started with someone just kind of, it was most likely one person, two people, maybe even a team if they really talked enough about it and sat together at a table. But yeah, a lot of these creations are from someone specifically, really. That's kind of how it all starts, and then it just grows and grows, and the world gets built upon, and things are made, and things are getting done, and I just think that's so cool. You know, imagine being the guy that's like, or whoever, right? So yeah, I made G.I. Joe. I'm the dad, I'm the creator, I'm the... you created something that existed only in your imagination, that might exist in another reality somewhere out in the dimensional universe. And it got on paper, it got on film, it was physically made with toys. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, G.I. Joes are so old too, like they've been around a long time. And it's unfortunate that something so cool came out of some sort of war, because by the time a lot of these were made, like, dude, that was around just a much darker time, a much different time. But what good that came out of it is things like these toys, all the inventions that were made, all the designs people were doing, all the ways that people had to kind of get over everything. And these toys were kind of a big part of that too. So, yeah, having all these different ways to kind of look at how to find the reasons in one's own mind to get the game, download it, pay for it, play it, beat it. It's all there. It's not gonna be like most games where you can just kind of be like, oh, it's a game that came out and looks cool, and yeah, I'll get it, I'll play it. But yeah, this is all third person. It had to be quality enough to be a game, right? And it's not, I don't even know if I'd really call it like an indie. It's just this weird, I can't really tell how to interpret it correctly, but the studio that makes it, they make a lot of other reasonably good games too, so I can't hate on it as much as I want to, or how much I can. It's a weird one. But if I'm gonna give any points to it, it's literally gonna be for the brand. The game itself, not a fan. Which I kind of hate to even bring stuff like that up too, because it's like, I appreciate the fact that these are getting made. Like, I don't want to complain and like not have stuff get made like this anymore. That's not a really great way to advance human civilization and society enough to get these people behind the industry to keep doing what they're doing for us, to be entertained, to kind of get through the day, get through life, get distracted for some hours, right? I think this game took me like a couple days to beat, maybe. I don't know. It wasn't too long. There's a co-op. There's customization. It's pretty limited. You have to explore, get collectibles, unlock stuff, do objectives, do really specific things. Usually in games that like this, I don't want to give too much away, but at the same time, it's the game is really good at just doing what it does, and that's about it. So there's really not a whole lot to go off of. There's vehicle missions, there's yeah. It's a game. It's a thing. There's a standard edition, deluxe edition. I just got the standard. I was like, you know what? I'll fuck around and play your shit, but I'm not gonna like go too above and beyond to get the whole picture or something. It just didn't really seem worth it at the time. I just wanted to play it enough where like, sure, I wasn't too antsy about the deluxe, but when I first heard that the game was announced or leaked or whatever it was, that it was even a thing, I was like, dude, that's pretty exciting, because in my lifetime I've never played a G.I. Joe video game before. And with most other things, I've been able to at least participate in playing a game of something of whatever it is that I might have liked throughout my life. And this was just one of those things that you don't really get a lot of stuff like this ever. You don't. It's like G.I. Joe kind of comes out when it does, and then it hides back in the shadows and comes back out, and yeah, it does this weird like back and forth. Like, hey, don't forget about us. We still exist, but we're not like probably as relevant as we might have used to be. So yeah, it's a hidden gem for sure. It's definitely not a game that you're gonna even really probably know about unless you're revolved around stuff similar to this to be able to even hear about it or to notice that it's even a thing or see like a trailer or word of mouth. Yeah, I mean, I will say the game did get better as it went. It got cooler. There's some levels I really liked, some characters I was excited to play when they let me play them. But ultimately, I was just really anxious for the game to get over. Like, I couldn't... It was so hard to... I was just kind of forcing myself to sit there and finish and play it. Which is never a good thing. Sometimes it does happen. But, yeah, it was basically 75% I'm into it, I'll do it, whatever, and 25%. But that's a big 25%, like that's... Or if you want to get really technical, you could almost say it's more of like a 60-40, 70-30. So if I were to score this, it would probably be... Dude, it'd have to be a 7. 7 out of 10. Because... I think they can... There's so much to work with G.I. Joe. If this game had a studio and if it had enough backing and support, that's why I love getting the game and supporting the devs and like I streamed the game as well and then here now it's like I want these things to continue and get better, and you know there's only so much power that I have to do everything myself, but like I would like more G.I. Joe games. I would like the next one to be better, to be bigger, to be more expensive, to be a AAA title, because that could be really fun. That could be so cool. That could... Like any other military game, I'd just be like, eh, G.I. Joe, yes. It's just too damn cool to like... to harp on it too much. But it's such a unique game and unique style that you're not really gonna find other military games being able to compete with this, like I was saying earlier, because... But that's my point too, is like... Take this, take every G.I. Joe game ever, take what support it has had. Like, because that's the thing, we have the power to do that, we're the customers, we're the paying... people. If it wasn't for us, these things wouldn't exist to be supported and made and all these things, right? It's a two-way deal. So yeah, more G.I. Joe would be great. And hopefully it's better than this. You never really know though, right? Because there's only so much power that we have in these kind of decision-making things. But that's the thing, is that if people show more enthusiasm, like sure, we're all busy. But that's the thing, we're not making these video games, I'm not. But it could just be something as like a simple Twitter post, sharing it. Could be, you know... comments on G.I. Joe videos on YouTube. It could be likes. It could be just every small thing like that. It does make a difference. So it's definitely something to keep in mind if you're passionate about stuff like this. And for me, it's weird. One of those weird things like, hey, it's not my thing. I didn't make G.I. Joe, so I'm not going to care for it nearly as much as the people that are involved, literally working on making G.I. Joe come to life for us. So in that perspective, yeah, it's kind of hard to like to put myself out there so much just for this, but it's not a bad thing. It's nice to see like, hey, these things I do like, whether I participate in how active these things are going and how much time and money and effort is being put into these deals, they come out, they're a thing, they're purchasable, and it's really cool. It's a really cool feeling, like when something that you like comes out of nowhere, by the way. Like, this game threw me off a lot. Like, it's definitely not something you're probably gonna notice like a year early or something, unless you're literally following the process or whatever. But yeah, as soon as I knew it was the thing, I had to get it. There's no denying that. So yeah, it was good. It was bad. The cutscenes are all cel shaded. They're all see, that's another thing. Cutscenes could have been cooler. It's just with styles like that, you can tell not a lot of money and effort was put into it as much as like a full motion kind of thing. But with how better technology's getting, next gen, yeah, I think the next thing could be pretty cool. Could be a lot better. Just have to kind of wait around and see. And I gave it a 7. I gave it a C. It's an average game. I can't put it any higher or lower because it cannot be the most average game. One of the most average games I probably have played in the past 3 years. Like ever since I started to go a lot harder with games and streaming and videos, and that's really the only way I probably would have even noticed that this game was even a thing. Other than that, I might have not even... I'm like, oh, that's a thing? Oh. When you're just kind of a casual gamer, you play games after work and chill, and I don't know. It's not something you're gonna know about unless you go out looking for it. And hopefully, the more content that's made for it, the better. Because I'm all about supporting things that I believe in.